In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at the Teleconnections, which is your AO, NAO, PNA, which we've been talking about for a few days. Don't worry if you haven't seen it, I'll go over it and kind of explain it to you guys. But we're going to talk about how that's going to translate into the upcoming pattern, where we're going to look at the storminess, the overall storminess, where there's a few cold fronts coming through in a major coastal system. It looks less and less likely that that one is going to be tropical, but it isn't really going to hold back the impacts. Major winds, major rainfall. This is going to be a major coastal system, to say the least, and we've been eyeballing this one for days. The temperatures have been going back and forth on the models. Everything looks a little bit more favorable for cooler air in the east. Honestly, I've seen better signals. I've seen deeper cold being shown up on the models as well. But this does look pretty consistent, and every sign does point towards a cooler trend as we reach past the midway point of this month and kind of into like the 20th through the 30th time frame of October. So let's go ahead and dive in here to these teleconnections. And again, I've just been showing this daily, so I just wanted to update you guys on how this is going. Right now, we are at a positive AO. Arctic oscillation, and that means overall the Arctic is holding on to a lot of that cold air that is not moving down further south into areas like the United States. So a lot of that is being held up, and it's actually building in intensity. That's another thing with your positive AO. We see more ice and snowfall building in that Arctic region, and areas of Canada and Russia and areas like that, Northern Europe. And areas like that are building that ice and snowpack, and that is making that cold even more potent down the road. We do see that overall, over the next few days, this is going to take a deep dive into the negative territory by about the 11th, 12th, 13th time frame. It's going to be finishing that descent around the 13th. And then on these models, we see we hang out in that negative AO territory from that point forward, all the way through into like the 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Really just looking like this is going to be consistently negative. The NAO, which is a little bit less impactful, especially this time of year, but a similar one. This is more so about the temperatures around Greenland, but it's kind of the opposite. Now, when we see this positive NAO, North Atlantic Oscillation, that means that there is colder temperatures over areas in Greenland, Eastern Canada, and a lot of times this is going to mean that when we do have a negative AO and the Arctic air is unleashed, it's actually going to head a little bit further east than the eastern United States. It's oftentimes going to dive into that kind of, again, Greenland, Eastern Canada, and North Atlantic area. The negative NAO here is the opposite. So you see that warmer air over that region, a blocking ridge is what we call it. And that's going to kind of funnel in the colder air. It's going to be forced to head either east or west of that area because there's a big, strong ridge there. The cold air is going to want to go around it. And oftentimes this can cause colder air in the eastern states as well as areas in Europe when we have this negative NAO pattern ongoing. Now, finally, I know a lot of you are probably bored with this, but we're going to talk about the PNA, which is what I'm always talking about here on the channel. And the positive phase is warmer temperatures over Western North America, and the negative phase is colder temperatures over Western North America. So it's kind of similarly to the NAO, if there's warmer air, so again, the positive phase here over the western areas of North America, it forces that cold air to move either west or east of that warm blocking high pressure system and ridge. And what we see here on the PNA is overall we're negative. We've been negative. That's why it's been so warm in the east. This is going to shoot positive by the time we're looking at the 10th, 11th. So you can expect cooler temperatures overall to persist. There is a little bit of a lag with this typically. So you can expect mostly the 11th, 12th, 13th to be a little cooler because of that little blip of positive PNA that we get there. It is going to rebound just as negative as it is right now for a little bit. But look at this trend on the models. We see this ascent happening. And this does take a while, but we see an upward trend in this PNA over the long term. And I think that that's going to bring us back into this more cold in the east pattern overall. The blue line is actually, because the green line is your GFS ensemble model. The blue here is your typical GFS model. And we can see this one goes way more positive, kind of starting after the 17th, 18th, 19th. So about 10 days from now. And just to get a second opinion, here's a European model. maybe even more aggressive with this. Now we see this blip again of positive PNA back to a smaller blip of negative PNA, and then we go positive by the 15th, 16th, a little sooner there, and it stays positive, maybe even getting more positive in the long term from that point forward. So that combined with that negative AO, negative NAO, that's like a perfect storm for colder temperatures in the east. So again, confidence is growing in this. It doesn't look crazy as far as like a massive cold blast into the east that's like super cold. It more so looks like slight to moderately below average temperatures over longer periods of time is the way that I see this. And this could obviously worsen. We could see all of this stuff just kind of continue to progressively intensify. And if that occurs, there's plenty of time for it. We could see, even greater impacts, of course. Here's the past 7 days. In a couple of days, we'll be able to look at the 10-day past temperatures. So here's the past 7 days. And as you can see, I don't think I refreshed this. Let me see here. Huh. Yeah, I just noticed it says valid Monday on the 6th. Huh. So we haven't gotten an update on this. That's weird. I'll look into this. But anyway, this is how October started out, I should say then. Looking at the European models, precipitation, you might have noticed if you're in the east that it's been stormy. We already have a cold front that we're on the forefront of here, so we're getting cooler temperatures moving in as we speak. Rainy conditions kind of along the southeast and east coast area here, and overall a ridge that's building in the west. So again, we're right on the cusp of moving into that very quick shot at a positive PNA, and this is kind of what you get in that type of pattern. We see that this is kind of when that positive PNA is peaking here. Just really abundant ridge over the west. And we do see a descending pattern into the east. So again, this will be cooler, but this isn't crazy. This is more so average to slightly below average temperatures. Widespread, though, throughout a lot of the east in these areas here. As we keep going, we see another well, really we should talk about the coastal storm that's going to be building. But we'll first off talk about the west, where they get really stormy here. And this is when we go back into a negative PNA. Typically, storminess is going to bring lower pressure, and all of that is kind of associated with, more of a trough and more cooler temperatures. So this is going to just really cool things off. And that's why we rebound really quickly out of the positive PNA back into a negative. We do have storminess over the Great Lakes as well. And right around the 10th, 11th is when this coastal system is going to be building there off the southeast just a few days from now. From this point, here's Saturday the 11th afternoon, 1003 there, off the Mid-Atlantic and Southeast. So we have lots of storminess here for the Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, Carolinas mostly. Lots and lots of winds. We'll go over that in a little bit, but tons of rainfall, tons of wind. This is going to be an impactful system to say the least. More activity out west, including some snowfall for the mountain ranges out there. So again, moving purely into a negative PNA very quickly. Even by Sunday the 12th. We still have cooler conditions in the east compared to what we've been dealing with, but it's not severe. And really, most of the cold is already moving back over the west. This coastal system is going to be more long-lived than what we're typically used to. This is a day later, Sunday the 12th, and it hasn't really moved. Still North Carolina, Virginia, the Mid-Atlantic, now even southern New England, getting impacts here. We have a tandem of two pretty intense low pressure systems over the central states. So we just have lots of activity here. Again, snowfall in the northern Rockies and Cascades, rainfall elsewhere happening. Monday on the 13th, look at this, just offshore of northeastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, still seeing impacts here in the Mid-Atlantic and Northeast from this one by the 13th. And then finally by Tuesday the 14th, it's going to be starting because it kind of moves up and then it just meanders. It just hangs out over this area, and then it finally just shoots out for the 14th here, which will be Tuesday. We see some storminess left over for parts of the Northeast especially, but that is coming to an end. Meanwhile, out west, storminess continues, even snowfall for the Sierra Nevada mountains here. Heavy snowfall occurring there in northern Rockies still. The west is just getting bombarded by snowfall, which is fairly typical for this time of year, I should add. Wednesday the 15th here, low pressure over the northern plains and Midwest. Snowfall for the northern Rockies still. As we keep going, Thursday here on the 16th, snowfall and rainfall here over the Northwest. We also see Great Lakes and upper Midwest seeing some showers and thunderstorms occurring, probably more showers than anything. And also by this point, we have a pretty evident ascending pattern into the east. And what I mean by that is the jet stream. This isn't really the jet stream. The jet stream is way up north, but the flow of things is more so like this. So you get warmer air infiltrating into the east and central states, and cooler temperatures still kind of dominant over the west here. Snowfall again over the northern Rockies there. As we keep going towards Friday, that's when we get a little bit of a backdoor cold front, perhaps. So we're getting more dippage along the east. And I know I'm getting a little confusing here, but again, the red lines are dipping, more indicative of colder air moving southward. So these eastern areas cool down a little bit for the late portion of next week. Saturday here on the 18th, low pressure here over, I thought it said 1900 pressure right there. There's a red line under that makes that look really weird. 1,000 millibar low pressure center there, very weak. But we do have snowfall over some of the Rockies and rainfall against in some surrounding areas. Typically, these intensify quickly, so let's see what happens. 998. That doesn't really take off like I thought it would. 998 there. Right there, North Dakota, cold front, really, really clear. There is a little bit of a warm front there. It's not super evident. But that cold front could be intense. We could see pretty bad thunderstorms in there, even maybe severe weather. Meanwhile, out ahead of it, this is very typical. Warmer air is prevailing. Not really along the east. Again, jet stream somewhere in here. So mostly along the central states, it's quite warm. Ahead of that cold front, and then the east coast is still a little cooler. The west, though, just to the east of the Rockies, is the most cold by that frame. Monday here on the 20th, we're kind of moving into the pattern that we've been expecting. Warmer air, again, positive PNA takes back over for the west, so warmer temperatures, higher pressure, and we get more of this cooler air moving southward here for the east. Jet stream is right in here, so very, very chilly. Looking at the total precipitation, we get lots for the west. This has been actually picking up over the past few model runs. Also, the northern plains, upper Midwest area here doing quite nicely. And then we get this kind of East Coast area, which is continuing to look like it's going to get more and more precipitation from this coastal low. That's pretty much the only contributing factor there. So again, we get some above average precipitation for some of these immediate East Coast locations. Most of the east outside of that, though, is quite dry. And a lot of the west and north central states is doing quite nicely as far as above average precipitation. Here's your total snowfall, where we do see, again, monstrous amounts for some parts of the west, especially the lower Cascades into the Sierra Nevada, where potentially a foot or more of snowfall, maybe even multiple feet, could be possible. We look more so like maybe 8 to 12 inches for a lot of your Rocky Mountain ranges. Again, this time of year, I mentioned this like maybe a week ago, but this time of year, the sun angle is still a little bit higher. The ground is still a little bit warmer. So typically we take these totals and we estimate that it's going to be quite a bit lower. And that's what I'm doing with those calculations that I just gave you guys. Looking out east, we do see the Adirondacks and perhaps White Mountains popping back onto the scene as potential areas to watch for some flurries. Again, very doubtful that this would accumulate maybe on top of like Mount Washington or something, but this is because the mounts are so low. Again, we equate to the warmer ground temperatures, the higher sun angle, and this is likely to be just snow falling out of the sky more so than sticking to the ground and actually sticking around. Your temperatures here, the European model, again, here's that cool down that we're seeing move in right now. Here's Wednesday afternoon, it's already moving in, and by Thursday, tomorrow, it's much cooler along all of the east and Ohio Valley there. We do see the warm temperatures try to make a comeback here in the east, especially. So we're reaching kind of like the 13th, 14th. We're getting much warmer, even beyond 16th, 17th, 18th. We do get another backdoor cold front, as we mentioned, very similar to the one we're kind of going into right now for Saturday the 18th, last to the 19th, 20th. Then we warm back up in the east until this more major cool down starts to move into the east. But look out west. We can't break away from these cooler temperatures that are just hanging out over the west. That is not going to allow for a major cool down in the east as long as that western feature is there. GFS model, going to have really good agreement. We get the cooler temperatures around for a couple of days here in the east, especially the east coast. We do warm up for most of the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th. And then finally, we see the cooler air moving eastward again. But the warmth makes a comeback on this model after the 20th. So that is very far out. We'll have to see what happens, but there is still really decent signs for multiple cooldowns upcoming. It's just not like crazy. Again, not crazy. With all that being said, be sure to subscribe. We upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.